After 13 years of waiting, Hardcore mode has finally come to Bedrock previews, and so I immediately started a Hardcore world and... Don't knock me off, no. Whoopsie. As you can see, I was avoiding a creeper on this side of the pillar by going that way round, and that's what resulted in my demise. It's an easy mistake to make though, and I learned for it with my second world where... No! What? If only I'd seen the creeper. Either way though, between these two deaths, I lost over 5 hours of Minecraft world, which put a serious dent in my plan to have a long-term hardcore survival, and this made me realize I would have to make some drastic changes on a third attempt, which is why I decided to make a harder challenge. What if I could survive in hardcore difficulty on a flat world? In fact, an ultra flat world. What if I could tame this wasteland into something beautiful? That is my goal here, and it all starts with this one sapling. But hello, I'm IDX Toycat, and welcome to Hardcore Ultra Flat, and please just ignore that, because trust me when I say I'm desperately trying to avoid another hardcore death by creeper, and the best way to do that is to punch a panda to death, because they have a chance of dropping bamboo. This bamboo is going to be useful, but also today I got some bones from a skeleton, thank you to this helpful wolf, and I also got a leather chest plate from a zombie. Then I could use this bone to make a bone meal, use the bone meal to make the tree, and boom, I've got the first wood. This will be really handy with that bamboo later, but I can also bone meal the ground, which usually isn't that good of an idea, but here it's going to give me access to flowers for dye, and more importantly, tall grass, which has a 10% chance of giving me seeds. If I get these seeds, I can plant them in the ground, and now I'll have access to wheat, eventually. Once it grows, which it is going to be able to do without water, fun fact, but it is going to take most of the next 100 days for this to truly get going, and so in that time, I need to work on my grand plan, because on this world, we are able to go to the Nether and End. This is made possible by a trade with the Wandering Trader, and this crafting recipe for end portals. However, to get to that point, I'm going to need to survive, and given that this is hardcore, that needs to be priority number one. So what is my grand plan not to die? Well, it comes quite simple. I want to prevent mobs from killing me by preventing them from spawning in the first place. This would be a much easier thing on a non-super flat world. We don't have access to coal here, however, and so where we would just use one torch, instead we need to use around 100 flattened blocks, because there are two criteria for a mob to spawn. It needs to be an unlit full block, and so we can't deal with the unlit bit, but we can avoid full blocks by either placing slabs on top of every single block here, or using a shovel to turn it into path. Every single wooden shovel gives 59 durability, and for a 128 by 128 area, this is the bare minimum to have a 8 by 8 chunk area be fully spawn-proofed, you would need to go through 16,384 blocks, and I'll save you the maths on that and just say I need a lot of shovels, which is where the bamboo comes in, because as you can see, it's growing so quickly. After just a few minutes, we already have some more, and after a while, we'll have enough to build a great house. So now I start shoveling the grids very basically using my trees, and after a little bit, I have a great idea from chat, which is to use the bamboo not just to exist in its own right and farm, but also to make a perimeter around the world. This is an idea I like so much that I start to do so, and I really start to lay out my plan for this grand world. First though, I get a wolf, I start building my house, I make sure there's an emergency tunnel to keep me safe, I find a pink sheep, wow that's rare, and then I start building a staircase for an eventual mob spawner, which will be in the middle of this grand plan of a world. In fact, now that the staircase is complete, it's even OSHA compliant with beautiful handrails, maybe I should share with you the progress of the world so far from the very top of it. Like I said, this is going to be my mob farm, mobs are going to spawn up here and fall down there, but also the rest of the world is coming together too. This is my house, and the rest of the world is divided up into this grid. This grid is here to represent the chunks of the world, and this is going to be fully complete in a 10 by 10 area, which means lots and lots of wooden shovels have gone straight to their death, but this is very, very important. Something else that's fun about this is I deliberately picked the big square, so it would be in 4 separate biomes. There's a plains over here, a tiger over here, then there is a savanna over there, but most of this is going to be in the jungle, which is just my favorite color of grass, and so keep that in mind as things go forward. Also keep in mind that if I do fall off here, it will lead to my death. Speaking of dying, that's exactly what I did during my second session of Ultra Flat Hardcore. This is something I actually decided to stream. I think when you're playing hardcore, if you don't stream it, it kind of takes off a lot of the edge and the point of it, at least in my opinion, so you can watch the entirety of my 16 or so hours of Ultra Flat. But yeah, it's worth mentioning that into my second stream, 30 seconds, I killed a zombie, just one of them, and I happened to get a 1 in 120 chance, because for this whole world to work, I rely on a lot of Minecraft rare drops, and one of the most important ones is that killing zombies gives you a 1 in 40 chance of getting a rare drop, and a 1 in 3 chance that one of those rare drops is an iron ingot. I need 10 of these iron ingots to progress, and so that means I'm going to have to kill about 1,200 zombies, and if that sounds bad, consider the way Guardians drop. They drop fish with the same 1 in 40 chance of giving you their rare drop table, and that fish then has the following odds of being cod, salmon, pufferfish, or tropical fish, and that means you have a 1 in 2,000 chance of getting that tropical fish when you kill a Guardian. If you wanted something more useful than this clown fish, however, instead getting enchanted diamond boots has an even lower probability, and so here's what it is. There is a 15% max chance of a zombie spawning with armor on when playing hard difficulty, a 72.9% chance of that armor including boots, a 0.04% chance of that armor being diamond, and then once you kill that zombie, an 8.5% chance of it dropping those same boots, or indeed any piece of armor, which means that if we stack all of those odds together, if you had to kill zombies repeatedly, the odds of you getting diamond boots from it would be 0.00037,179%. Plus, on top of that, if you wanted them enchanted, only 6 to 50% of those become with enchantments on, which means 800,000 zombies if you're lucky with those odds, and 7.2 million if you're not. So having to kill 1,200 zombies doesn't sound so bad after that, does it? Anyway, back to the game. It's important to note that my luck didn't just end with finding iron immediately, but also I had a wandering trader spawn, and he had the lava bucket trade, the fabled. This is something that regular super flat doesn't have, and so it's important that it was added to ultra flat, and it's a really handy trade if you have the emeralds, which I sadly don't. I considered going on a little bit of a fun quest to kill some foxes to maybe get them, but I decided against it, and instead decided to work on the farm, which is going to be my way of killing those 1,200 zombies. I could go out randomly every night and try and kill maybe a handful, but that's going to take me hundreds of days, and so instead I use a mob grinder to grind through as many zombies as we can quickly. However, because this is going to rely on full damage, not killing zombies, but near enough killing them, they only give you that rare drop when you kill them yourself, that means I'm going to have to start doing a lot of building at a height where I genuinely might die, and so that's why I decided to set up a slime block in my inventory just to save myself from the falls. My first test goes fairly well. See, there we go. I have to place like a half second before I think I'm going to hit the ground. But half a heart is much better than all the hearts. And so too does the zombie trap I set up in my stairs. I'm starting to feel really smug at this point that I understand how mobs spawn and how they work, and so things are working really well, which is why I decided that I'm going to dig a whole chunk down to Bedrock. This is later going to be another part of this farm for farming resources. It's something I just figured I should do for the fun of it next to this thing though, because Bedrock is one of the few places that mobs don't spawn, and I decided to use a creeper to help me dig to Bedrock. Creepers are of course my friends and have never done anything bad for me, and as you can see they work incredibly useful right here, but something weird happens just a few days later because a pillager scout spawns into my world. This funnily enough isn't the first pillager scout I've seen, but this pillager patrol is a very weird event that you assume will give you emeralds, but fun fact, you only get emeralds for killing pillagers when they're part of a raid, and so instead I kill them for their crossbows, their arrows, and their illager banners. This will be useful for my museum later, but you know what else will be useful for a museum? A second piece of iron. Despite killing far fewer than 120 zombies, I have 2 iron already, which means I'm 2/10 of the way to having a bucket and a cauldron, and a bucket and a cauldron of course allow me to use water, which will then allow me to fish for food, but also drown zombies, which gives me copper, which gives me access to lightning, which gives me access to gold, which gives me access to the villagers that I so desperately crave. Getting down hardcore would be something special, and so that is what I'm working towards in the grand sense, and on the small sense, I decide to tame another wolf type, because this world having different biomes means that we can find another variant, which is cute. Also cute is the fact that my mob farm finally starts to work. It takes hours of piecing it together, but it still doesn't create much, and also the zombies that do spawn seem to die immediately. This is weird because I set up the farm to have a 22.5 block full, which I would have figured left zombies with exactly 1 health, because 23 blocks is a lethal full for you or a zombie, and so 22.5 should be fine, but it's not. Nothing goes great, and so instead I have to work out what I'm going to do, and so I add a layer of slabs to the farm floor, which means that now zombies don't die when they hit it, but it means that mobs spawn there. That's something I'm going to solve later. For now, I finally have enough wheat to make a hay bale. This is a handy second item. Just having anything on my hotbar that can prevent me from dying of full damage is going to be very handy, because I have this feeling that full damage is going to kill me at any point, and so I put a lot of work into protecting myself from that. I also put a lot of work into finishing the bamboo wall. I love the view from up here, by the way. It might be the most dangerous part of my world, but it has the best views around of it to see the entirety of the bamboo wall, and also to see just how much work I've put into shoveling around so that no mobs can spawn anywhere. This is very handy, but it has been a very big drain on my wooden shovel resources, and so it's handy that I've got this iron shovel from a zombie. I'm not going to use it though. I feel like it's like when you're in a game and you have all the health potions, you save them for the final boss, but then the final boss comes and you say to yourself, what if there's another final boss? And so, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about this. You know what else I'm feeling good about though? Day 40, which hit sooner than I expected because I was shoveling so much I entirely lost track of time. It's a surprisingly fun hobby. You should pick it up. Do it in your regular Minecraft world. You never know how much you'll enjoy it. But what I also enjoyed was killing mobs. It might be quite risky because zombies, skeletons, and creepers all come into this place together, but because they all end up with 1 health, it was relatively safe for me. And one of the fun side effects of creepers dropping with 1 health is that skeletons, if they happen to shoot me and miss and hit a creeper, would give me a music disc, something that happened a few times, but the first time was here and stream free. I felt very good about that. So I used this motivation to work on the farm some more, realized the farm floor was a little bit too high and potentially spawning some mobs, and then go out looking for a diamond from a fox. This is something that can happen in Ultra Flat Core. In regular Minecraft, foxes can spawn with emeralds in their mouth, very rarely, but in Ultra Flat Survival, the team decided to extend this to diamonds, which means that if you're lucky, you can actually farm diamonds from foxes. It didn't work out for me, however. However, I did get some nice enchanted gear from these zombies in the farm. As I mentioned, the odds before of getting a zombie with armor are surprisingly high, and if you just get that lucky 8.5% chance, that armor is yours. And given that quite a lot of this seems to be enchanted, I'm looking pretty good, right? I also then decide to discuss with chat about whether I should have a shield. If it means losing your world or needing to vert an extra piece of iron, I would go shield all the way. But the thing is, how I guess I could have the shield and then only use it in emergencies, right? The conclusion I begrudgingly reached was that I had to play it safe, and that even though this set me back 10% on my goal to having a bucket and cauldron, making sure that I made it past day 100 was the priority, and so that is why I made this shield. It's my emergency fallback and will prevent basically any source of damage from killing me as long as I can react to it first. Anyway, I also got some extra gold armor from some zombies, so at this point I'm looking really snazzy in my opinion. I hope you like this armor, because bad news, it's about to go, but I also decide to work on some of the other projects in this world because the big one is getting that iron, and that is the big thing I'm slowly working towards. But I also need to consider that eventually I'll need a lot of pigs because they'll have to turn into zombie piglins, and also I'm going to need a place to store all of this stuff that starts to drop. If you think about the number of skeletons, zombies, and creepers I'm killing, I'm just going to end up with a ludicrous amount of loot, and so rather than just having a single chest in my house, I decide to make a full chest house. This is something I start work on, and then as I go back to farming mobs, I happen to get the other thing that I need for this key ingredient, the potato. Potatoes and carrots are both rare drops from zombies, but are both edible by pigs and will lead them to breed, and I'm going to need so many pigs to get the number of zombie piglins that I want to get multiple golden apples, and so that means I'm going to want to have these pigs somewhere that they won't interfere with the mob farm, so they go outside the bamboo wall, but also somewhere close enough that I can easily breed them, and so I make this lovely pen, which is just outside the world and just made out of bamboo, which will keep them safe, but also not too safe, if you know what I mean. Speaking of knowing what I mean, Stream 4 started well because I decided to harvest some bamboo and kill some foxes. I was sure that if I just killed enough foxes, I would eventually end up with emeralds or diamonds, but instead it ended up being a little bit of a wild goose chase, and I almost regret doing that. You know what else I regret though? Not having a panic room up to this point. There is a very serious problem of mobs just falling down from the sky, and even though I've got this wall around it to stop them from killing me, it still feels as though there are lots of ways someone could get out there, so I decide to have this panic room be oh god, I need to escape, and this is what I set it up for. However, it then gets blown up by a creeper, and then immediately following it, I have back-to-back spooky situations, one with zombies that showed up in my house, oops, forgot that crafting tables are mob spawnable blocks, and then I have while I'm working on the mob farm, I have this incredibly spooky fall. This is one of the closest times I felt like I'd been to death. Don't panic, I'm good. And the only thing that made this feel better was the fact that one of these skeletons I killed today gave me an infinity bow, yeah! And so now I built a second staircase, which is a little further from the farm. I don't know why I built the first one so close to begin with, it just felt like it was asking for trouble, and so this second staircase will be much better. I also work on shoveling out some grass around the fox spawner area. Again, later, there's going to be a beautiful diamond and emerald farm here, and then I do a bunch of small activities for an hour before getting a carrot from the mob farm. Woo! Carrot time! Carrot time! It's carrot time right now! It's carrot time for me, it's carrot time for you, it's carrot time for bees, and it's carrot times for moose. I then plant the carrot, and I've got a carrot farm, and a potato farm, and a wheat farm. I've now accomplished 2 of my big goals for this world. One of these was to have the 9x9 flattened area so that no mobs could spawn anywhere but my mob farm, and the second was to have a basic farm for all of the easily farmable goods until we get beetroot from traders later. This is about as good as it gets, and it's going to grow too alongside the world, which, if you want a tour of, by the way, this is where we were at the end of stream 4. Things looking very, very nice, if you ask me. Almost the entire world flattens up, the entire world that matters at the very least, and also a secondary area that will one day lead to my fox wealth. Trust me, when we make it to day 200, the amount of diamonds I'll be getting from foxes will be so fun that you'll think it's overpowered. But for now, I don't have something overpowered to work on. Instead, I'm just working on this roof, which, fun fact, is not just a block, it's a block covered with a slab. The block is there to prevent light going through, because a slab by itself won't do that, but then the slab is on top because we need to make sure that no mobs spawn, and it's a lot cheaper to use slabs than trapdoors, despite the fact that a trapdoor uses so much less wood. Pro tip, you can also apparently crouch off a trapdoor onto nothing. That feels like it shouldn't be true. I can't do it again. How did I do it there? I was definitely crouching as I fell, right? Yeah, crouching is very important to the success in this world. Having this shield up means that even the most dangerous of attacks won't kill me, which is definitely not foreshadowing. The 5th stream has me incredibly tense the entire way, by the way, because we realized that after surviving 69 days, nice, I know, that means that I have now committed well over a dozen hours into this same world, and that if I were to die from something, even something dumb like that trapdoor mistake right there, that would lead to my death, but also the loss of the entire world. This isn't something that I let stop me from building the giant roof above it, and also something that doesn't stop this wandering trader from hanging his llamas to death. Come on, dude, you don't need to do that to them. They're meant to be your friends. But yeah, one of the fun things that the game gives me to remind me that I am safe is this iron sword from a zombie, because zombies can spawn with equipment, and that's not just my weird collection of iron shovels, it's also this iron sword too. I also then get another accidental music disc, and then I decide that, you know what, to make this farm extra safe, we need to make sure there are no spiders gunking it up. Right now, one of the things preventing the mob spawn rate is that sometimes spiders just spawn up there, and they don't really fall down quite as easily as the other mobs. I don't want to kill spiders, and so a easy solution that I start to consider is, what if I go for an armadillo? This is one of the most foolhardy ideas, and when you see what this leads me to, you will regret me making this decision, because I go looking for an armadillo in a savannah. I do eventually find one. I have to bring him back in a boat. It takes a lot of doing, but trust me, it's going to be worth it, because I'm going to have fewer spiders in my farm, right? That is the only consequence of me bringing this armadillo here. But no, what happens instead is this, the most disastrous moment of the series. I can't believe I let it happen, but I'll play the clip. I don't know what's happening with this guy, but... Oh no! Oh! Whoa! Okay. That creeper almost ended my life. It is the closest I have been in all of these dozens of hours to seeing my world flash before my eyes, and it made me realize just how careful I would have to be. I decided to re-up on my food after this, and I decided to stop making careless decisions, which is why I went to the mob grinder, and I used every single day between 70 and 80 to make sure that I could get more and more iron, something that was working out fairly well for me. I didn't get any iron drops, but I was killing about 30 to 40 zombies a day. I knew this meant that I would have my 1,200 zombies killed in, you know, only 30 to 40 extra Minecraft days. It wouldn't be too drastically bad, but then I decided to do something just a little wild. Absent-mindedly, after killing a witch and a few zombies here in the place together, I decided to leave the safety of my panic box, and after leaving the safety of my panic box, I made the decision to walk through it. There were quite a few drops that I needed to pick up, and so I knew that the biggest risk at this point was a creeper falling and immediately exploding upon impact. I wouldn't have any chance to crouch, and so I would die. So I looked up at the sky, and what do you know? I actually came through this entirely fine. I don't know why there was any panic here whatsoever, but when I look back, you might notice that there is a creeper there on the ground. How that creeper managed to survive the 4-block gap is something that I wasn't really thinking about, but he was 4 blocks below me, so I just didn't put him at the front of my brain because I was trying to kill as many zombies as possible. I needed to get this iron done before day 100, because you can't say you've survived 100 days in a flat land and you still don't have any water. What would be the point, right? And so I go for the zombie, and you know what happens at this point? Something pretty fateful. I kill the zombie, he doesn't have any iron sadly, but then something wild happens. No, no! Oh! Wow! Now Now, we'll ignore the face that I pulled the moment this happened and the realization about how much time I'd lost, and instead point out the absolute tragedy that is what happened here. So if you go through and watch this slowly, you'll notice something, which is that right after I kill the zombie, I actually crouch, which would have given me 100% resistance against anything in front of me. However, as soon as I hear a creeper, I assume that it is snuck up behind me, and so my reaction to the creeper is to turn around as quickly as possible and to uncrouch, and it is this action which actually ends up being the death of me, which means that if I had just done nothing, if I was playing Minecraft and had slower reflexes, or if I was just playing with no sound on, if I had not heard that creeper explosion, then I would have survived it, and this is the brutality I'm faced with. And I know a lot of people at this point would say, Toycat, you've proven that you can cheat hardcore at this point, you've got backups, and also you've shown that you can delete your player data to go right back into the world. Why don't you just do that? Given that you've put 15 plus hours into this thing, don't go through and calculate it from all of the streams total, it's a little depressing, but the truth is, when you're playing hardcore, you have to accept that at some point there are breaks on you, and at some point there is going to be a tragic situation, because if you don't accept your death, then you're not really enjoying your life. If hardcore means that you're just going to cheat your death away, then you're not really playing hardcore, you're just playing Minecraft but with some fun hearts on. But this is what I am playing. I am playing hardcore Minecraft, and when the game kills me, even if I really don't like what a silly death it was, I will accept it, and I will say that as long as it wasn't a bug, as long as it was a me skill issue, that is me dead, that is the world dead, and I hope that you enjoyed this. If you do want to attempt this for yourself, you can obviously play a regular super flat world, or if you want ultra flat with all the biomes and fun things I've shown off today, it is available on the marketplace. Just search ultra flat survival and you'll find it right there. And interestingly enough, there's a little Easter egg I wanted to share right here for those of you who have enjoyed this series, because my original super flat world, the one that got me into this a year ago, is actually findable as an Easter egg halfway between the structured and unstructured versions at 5,000 on the X coordinate, something you might enjoy if you do give it a download. But either way, I hope you've enjoyed my ultra flat core recap. This has been one of the most brutal but fun journeys I've been on, and I have really been considering doing it again, but it's such a big time commitment, and it is a really big obsession of mine that really takes away my focus from lots of other things. So I want to know, do you want to see one of these again? If so, and if this video gets 5,000 likes, let's say, to represent the coordinates of the flat world, then I will consider doing another one of these. I will start an ultra flat core and make it even more hardcore, because that is the lesson I need to learn from each of these deaths. Clearly, I need a harder challenge, and so that's precisely what I'll do. In the meantime, though, I'm looking forward to doing a hardcore one-shot challenge, which will be starting very, very soon, so I look forward to seeing you for that, and I look forward to having a long-term hardcore world, because right now they keep ending in creepers. Speaking of creepers, goodbye.